I did this romesco spread made with roasted red peppers and slivered almonds. It's Spanish. You blend it all together and you can use it as a sauce, as a side for vegetables or on toast. It's really great with Rioja, like good Spanish red. Spanish wines are getting really good these days.
Oh, they are. They're wonderful. And they're not too heavy, fruity, like sweet. They've got that sort of almost earthy, dusty with a lot of savory foods.
Spanish wines really pair well with all that.
Do you have a thirst to learn about wine? Do you love stories about wonderfully obsessive people, hauntingly beautiful places, and amusingly awkward social situations? Well, that's the blend here on the Unreserved Wine Talk podcast. I'm your host, Natalie McLean, and each week I share with you unfiltered conversations with celebrities in the wine world, as well as confessions from my own tipsy journey as I write my third book on this subject. I'm so glad you're here. Now pass me that bottle, please, and let's get started. Welcome to episode 284. Why do Spanish wines pair so well with earthy, savory dishes? How does food photography affect the cost of a cookbook? And how can you set yourself up for success as an aspiring food or drink writer? In today's episode, you'll hear the stories and tips that answer those questions in part 2 of our chat with Barbara Scott-Goodman, author of Wine Bites, Simple Morsels That Pair Perfectly with Wine, among other books. You don't need to have listened to part 1 from last week first, but I hope you'll go back to it, if you missed it, after you finish this one. Those of you in my Wine Smart course, a full-bodied framework to taste, pair, and buy wine like a pro, will be familiar with many of the challenging pairings that we're discussing today. 3 of you are going to win a copy of Barbara's beautifully illustrated book with recipes and wine pairings. All you have to do is email me at natalie@nataliemclean.com and let me know that you'd like to win a copy. I'll choose 3 people randomly from those who contact me. So let's announce more recent winners of the book giveaways. I really do have to work on my sound effects. The winner of the Jura Wine book by Wink Lorch is Danielle Chandler from Toronto. Yay! A copy of the South American Wine Guide by Amanda Barnes is going to Dawn Boart from Tilsonburg. Woohoo! And Paul Barber from Brantford has won On Burgundy, From Maddening to Marvelous in 59 Wine Tales. Woohoo! So, if you haven't won a book yet, now's your chance. Keep listening, as my goal is to offer lots more books and other prizes with every episode. And you can qualify no matter where you live. I'll announce more winners next week. Just email me at natalie@nataliemclean.com if you'd like to be considered. Speaking of books, have you read Wine Witch on Fire, Rising from the Ashes of Divorce, Defamation, and Drinking Too Much? If yes, well then, have you bought a copy for a friend or a family member? Please do that if you'd like to support this podcast that I do for you on a volunteer basis to ensure it continues and to ensure I don't go thirsty. You can order it for yourself or someone else from any online book retailer, no matter where you live. It usually arrives in a day or 2, and of course, the ebook is instant. Poof! It's a fast, fun read. Every little bit helps spread the message in this book of hope, justice, and resilience. You can send a copy directly to a friend or family member via the online retailers and make their day when a gift arrives in the mail rather than another bill. Yay! I'll put a link in the show notes to all the retailers worldwide at nataliemclean.com/284. I also offer a free companion guide that has book club and wine group discussion questions that can also spark a conversation between 2 friends or a partner spouse who are reading the book together. It asks questions such as how you feel about your own relationship with alcohol, especially post-pandemic, marketing tactics toward women and other groups, and whether social media is still a good place to connect with others. The guide also has wine recommendations, pairings, and tips for organizing your own informal wine tasting. And you can get that for free at winewitchonfire.com. Of course, I'll link to that in the show notes as well. If you've read the book or are reading it, I'd love to hear from you. If your book club or wine group plans to read it, let me know if you'd like me to join in via Zoom. I also have a summary document that you can send to book club members who are deciding on upcoming books. Email me at natalie@nataliemclean.com. Okay, on with the show. So maybe from Wine Time, share with us 3 of your favorite food and wine pairings.
Well, there's the bruschetta and the things on the cover, which you can go either way with that sort of food. You could do, I like a dry white wine with that, or you could have a good red with prosciutto and cheese. There is that. Oh, there's a recipe for meatballs, and small meatballs that are made with pork and ricotta, and Chianti's great with that. That's a really...
Why does that work?
It's classic Italian, and they really offset each other really nicely. You can do the meatballs separately, or you can serve them with marinara sauce. And Chianti's very good with that.
Yeah. What grows together goes together, I guess they say.
I guess yes. Yeah.
You have another one there?
Let me think. What else? Oh, yeah. I did this romesco spread. Romesco is made with roasted red peppers. It's Spanish. It's with roasted red peppers and slivered almonds, and you blend it all together. And you can use it as a sauce, as a side for vegetables or on toast. And it's really great with Rioja, like good Spanish red. And Spanish wines are getting really good these days.
Oh, they are. They're wonderful. And they're not too heavy, fruity, like sweet. They're like, they've got that sort of almost dusty, which is and
that's
good
a great
acidity.
word.
Yeah, I like it earthy, dusty with a lot of savory foods. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good to pair. Spanish wines really pair well with all that. But it's romesco sauce, and it's really wonderful. You can put it on anything.
Wonderful. And I don't know if you have Wine Bites there with you or if you can remember any favorite pairings from that book.
Let me see. I do have it.
Okay. You want to hold that one up because we can see it? There we go.
Yep.
Okay. A little higher.
A little
There we go.
higher.
And again,
Yeah.
great. We'll put that in the show notes, the book cover and link. Yeah, great. Thank you.
Well, there's the homemade pizza that's on the cover. It's always good.
Ooh, yes. Let's start there. What's on it?
It's caramelized onions and mozzarella, and it's really good.
It sounds great. And what did you pair with that one? It's got a bit of sweetness.
Yeah, it's a red. Oh, I think it's Pinot Noir.
Oh,
Which
yes.
is really
No
good.
juicy
Yeah.
cherry notes and
Yeah,
that would be
that was
wonderful.
good. And I also have a smoked salmon and caper spread that you could do for lunch or brunch or something. And I like that with cava.
Spanish sparkling.
I'm a fan of cava. Yeah. I mean, you could make a mimosa if you wanted to.
If you
out of
insist.
that, if you insist. But I mean, I'm not a fan of brunch, so but cava and smoked salmon spread is very good together.
That would be great. Is there one more from Wine Bites that we would mention?
You know, I haven't looked at this book in so long.
I know, it's been a while.
I know, it's been a while. There's Roquefort cheese tarts, Roquefort cheese.
Blue cheese.
Yeah, blue cheese, which is good with Zinfandel.
Oh, yeah. The Zinfandel has the alcoholic heft and depth of flavor to take on a blue cheese. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, blue cheese is a tricky one to pair, but that is a good one.
And if you did a third book or a new edition of either, is there something you would change, add, a new direction you would take?
Well, that's a good question. I think I'd like to do a great mix of stuff. I like kind of the high-low of things, like in today's New York Times, there's an article, the wine article is about fried chicken and champagne.
Oh, yeah. Classic shabby chic.
Yeah.
Like putting rhinestones on jeans.
Exactly. So I would like to go in that direction because Some people don't want to spend a ton of money on wine or can't spend a ton of money on wine, but they still want to eat well and drink well. Or, once in a while you splurge and you have something really great Cabernet or something with steak.
Something simple. Yeah.
Just, yeah, simple. But I like the high-low idea.
That's a great idea. I like that. I hope you'll do a third book.
I hope so too.
We've covered some of the areas I wanted to ask you about naturally. So, getting back to the cookbooks, how much do the photos add to the cost of a cookbook?
A lot.
A lot? Like, does it double the cost or more?
Well, it's expensive. Everyone wants a lot. I want this really big, beautiful book, and I want big, colorful bleed pictures, and I want all these things. And then I go, well, or production person could say, okay, well, this is what it's going to cost. And it just floors people. But it is expensive because it's a lot of time. Photographers usually charge by the day. Stylists charge by the day. So it is expensive. So the book's going to cost more. I mean, there's just no way around it. I did a book last year with a publisher called Game Nights. It was about snacks for when you have a poker night or have people over to have for the Mahjong group or the book club. And they wanted, lots of pictures, and it was unaffordable for what they wanted to, what their P&L came to. So we did illustrations, and it came out great. It was great, but food photography is very expensive. And there's not a lot of room for mistakes.
No, it's true. Absolutely. And conversely, sometimes we see restaurant menus with pictures of the food, on the menu, and we think that's really lowbrow. But what's your opinion of that? Is it helpful? Is it just situational, contextual? Do you think fancy restaurants should be doing it?
I don't think so. Most people, when they go out to dinner now, look at the website of the restaurant. And there are a lot of websites with good photos on, and that can be the selling point. I don't think that pictures on a menu would really make any difference. I don't think it's necessary. Also, dishes change, stuff changes, so you'd have to keep photographing and keep redesigning the menu.
Right, that'd be expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of, I don't know. I love to read descriptions of dishes on a menu. Then it would be great to have a picture maybe, or you could say, can I just go in the kitchen and look at that?
It'll just be a minute.
Yeah, before I decide.
That's great. So in addition to your own wonderful books, what are your 3 favorite cookbooks of all time?
There's one I've used for a long time. It's Patricia Wells' Bistro Cooking. I actually worked with her a very long time ago, and she's wonderful. She sort of went all around France, where she lives, and got recipes from small restaurants and bistros all over the country. And the recipes all are excellent, and they really work. So I like that one. I really like David Tanis's books. It's called A Platter of Figs, and it's a number of recipes that he makes little dinner parties. And again, some of it's very simple and easy to do. Some of it's a little more complicated. The photographs are beautiful, and the book is beautifully designed. And I've gotten a lot of good recipes from him. Actually, they're very well tested too. And so they're going to work.
Excellent.
And of course, all of Julia Child's books. Yeah.
Right. Classic.
You can really learn so much from her books.
Yeah. I'm curious, how many cookbooks do you have approximately in your own collection? Is it like over 50, over 100?
It's about 300.
Oh, okay.
It's about 300, and every once in a while, they're all behind me, I think, it's time to weed this out. It's useless. And then I start reading them and go, oh my God, yeah, I forgot about this. I've got to make that. So, yeah, I have about 300, 350.
And I see some of them in the background, but where do you keep them in your home?
Right here.
Are you in your kitchen right now? Or?
No, I'm in my office. I don't have endless amounts of space either. It's a New York apartment.
Oh, yes. Right.
Remember?
Yeah. And what's your opinion of celebrity cookbooks? You've mentioned chef cookbooks, so that could be considered that. And I know there's a whole range of what's out there, but what's the best and worst of celebrity cookbooks? You don't have to name them, but what do they bring to the market?
I'm not sure. Celebrity cookbooks, they sell well because they're celebrities and they have a platform. And publishers like that because, it's instant name recognition and instant advertising. And, I think it's kind of all over the place. I think that some of them are fine, some of them are good. I know people who have actually worked with celebrities and been their ghostwriters or produced their cookbooks. And some of it has been, I've heard nightmare stories and I've heard great stories. So I always feel like you have to have something other than being a celebrity.
Sure, maybe it ties back to a childhood love of cooking or something.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think I have any celebrity cookbooks.
Okay.
I
Well,
don't think
that's definitive.
it's not who the person I would run to figure out how to cook something.
Although some cookbook writers do become celebrities in their own right, like Nigella Lawson.
Oh, sure. Yeah, but she was always a cook. She was a home cook. She's good. Her books are lovely. Her books are great. I think she's a very good writer, too.
She is. She's very intelligent. What trends are you seeing in cookbooks? What's changed over the past 5 years?
Well, the market's gotten much tougher. When I came into it, it was pretty open. It's sort of like, it was like a lot of people could bring their own ideas to the table, so to speak. And now I think it's gotten, because publishing's had gone through such a difficult time, people are very cautious about what they're going to publish and how much it's going to cost and what the bottom line is. So they are going to go with a celebrity before they may go with an unknown home chef. And it's because there's, again, the name recognition. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But I feel like it's about publishing. It's about people wanting their instant market to be there.
Yes. Well, that is the first question any publisher asks you when you're marketing a book. What is your platform? Meaning, how many people are you going to bring to buy our book immediately?
Exactly. And it's gotten more and more so with Instagram and TikTok. And there are TikTok stars who are selling cookbooks. I'm like, oh.
Wow. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of them have never written anything. So that's a weird trend.
Yeah. And do you think AI will change how cookbooks are produced or written?
It may. I mean, AI is everywhere. I'm not sure about it, remains to be seen, but probably. People could say, well, there's a formula to writing a recipe. And it's like, there is. Yes, everything has to be in order and everything has to make sense. But I don't know that you'll get that personality to come through, which what I was talking about is like, are you really guiding the reader and teaching anything and helping them make the best dish that they can? I don't think
Absolutely.
AI can do that.
No, I think AI has zero personality, actually. And, some of my favorite, like, I don't read a lot of cookbooks, but some that I've read through, my favorites have a memoir element to them or a narrative, which is lovely, in addition to being clear and creative in the combinations of ingredients. Yeah, so AI really fails miserably. I should say artificial intelligence for anyone not familiar, but fails miserably at those aspects of human creativity.
Yeah. If you want to write a press release and can't come up with how to do something or say something, it's helpful. But I hope it doesn't take our lives over.
Not before we're done, right, Barbara?
Exactly. Not done yet.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you've written that book, you've mentioned it, Brooklyn Bar Bites, pairing cocktails and bar food recipes. Bartenders now seem to be mixologists or even liquid chefs.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. What are 3 of the most interesting or weirdest cocktails that you included in the book?
Oh, that book was so much fun. The photographer and her assistant and I just drove around Brooklyn and went into bars and photographed, and it was just fun.
You could do a bar tour with your book. Go to Brooklyn, take the book with you like a passport.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
surprisingly, most of them are still in business. I think we lost a couple in the pandemic, but there's a bar called Achilles Heel that's in Brooklyn. Oh, they're all in Brooklyn. And they had this drink called a Lucky Dog. And it's Campari and orange and I think some champagne. And then they salted the rim. So it's almost like it's got almost like a margarita element to it. I mean, I love Campari. I don't know if I know it's
Kind
kind
of
of
a bitter taste, right?
yeah. It's an acquired taste to a lot of people, but that was really good. And they served it with pate. For some reason,
Did it work?
it was really good. Maybe we were also tired after shooting all this stuff.
Like that day in Venice.
Yeah,
It was
like that day in
anything's gonna
Venice. Like,
taste
and
great.
this is so cold and icy and delicious. Yeah, I came away from that, like that whole experience of that book. It was published by Rizzoli. I had so much respect for these guys and these women who work, and they're restaurant people and they're bar people, and they're totally committed. They work very hard. I thought that everyone who was involved in the book was very special, and they were so good at what they do. And, we just think, you just go to a bar and have a drink and a snack. And there is so much else going on and so much work put into a well-run good bar. I really enjoyed the whole experience of that book.
Any other cocktails that you remember?
That I remember.
Sorry.
There's a bar called the Long Island Bar. It was actually around in the 40s and 50s, and then it was abandoned. But everything was left intact, and then some people took it over and they turned it into a really nice cocktail bar. And they have a drink called, which is not a new drink, it's a Boulevardier, and I think it's bourbon based. And that was really delicious. And they served it with cheese curds because the chef was from Wisconsin.
Oh.
And he loves cheese curds. I can't say that really worked, but
He's just forcing his hometown.
yeah, it was a good concept.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah.
Well, it'd be fun to eat. They're kind of squeaky, and then you have your bourbon drink to wash them down. Cool. And so in marketing your books, what have been the most successful channels, especially for Wine Time and Wine Bites? Asking for a friend here. I'm wondering what's been successful.
Well, I have to say, Wine Bites sold very well. It did very well at Crate and Barrel stores, which they tied in with their bar program. They have really nice barware classes and, cocktail things. And they sort of packaged it in conjunction with their barware. And that did very well. And also the wineries. And I think also because Chronicle is based in San Francisco, they know, all the Napa and Sonoma wineries, and they got the books into a lot of those wineries. And, people go to wineries, as you know, and do tastings, and they might want to buy something other than a bottle of wine to walk away with. And so the book did really well, and it still does. I think they still have, sell at wineries.
That's great. Good to know. Okay.
Give them a call.
I just might. What advice do you have for aspiring food and drink writers?
I guess it would be to develop a platform, to start a blog, first of all, also make sure you're serious about it. I think a lot of people go, oh, that looks like fun. That looks easy. It's not. It's like everything else. It's a lot of work. And make sure that you're serious about it. Develop a platform. Start working on recipes, working on the writing. Give your friends recipes to test. Take the feedback. And, have a vision. What kind of book do you really want to do? What's important to you? What do you think? Don't do a baking book if you're not a baker. I would have to take that back because I did that.
But you were willing to put yourself into it. And
yes. And it was more of a concept. It was more of a concept with the illustrator. But if you're really good at something, if there's some specialty, say you're a master pickler, or say you're really good at making soup, start your collection and have a repertoire of recipes that you're good at and write them.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, wow, the time has flown. Just a lightning round, some quick questions and short answers. If you could have or share a bottle of wine with any person in the world, Barbara, living or dead, who would that be and which wine would you open?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I think it would be Julia Child.
Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Or my second guess would be David Bowie.
Oh, why David Bowie? That's interesting.
I'm just mad for him. I I think he would have a lot of interesting things to talk about.
And what bottle would you open? Yeah.
Something very expensive that I would like him to bring.
Oh, yes, he should bring the wine, not you.
I think a white Burgundy
Yes,
or some serious champagne.
absolutely. I don't think he'd mind. Who would have the budget for it?
He would have the budget.
Where is your ideal setting to enjoy a glass of wine?
I would say a summer afternoon outdoors on a beautiful day, not too hot, but 75 to 80 degrees, dry.
Sounds
Getting
lovely.
ready to go into the pool, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely. And maybe share with us one more food and wine pairing tip that we can try. Could be something simple or whatever comes to mind.
I would say my two favorite things would be champagne and potato chips.
Great combination.
Lay's classic potato chips.
I like that you're specific.
Yes.
That's a high-low. You can kick off your third book with that one.
That's a good idea. Maybe we should work on that.
Yes, absolutely. So as we wrap up our conversation, Barbara, is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to mention?
I don't think so. I just would love for people to pick up Wine Time and cook from it and enjoy it. And it would be lovely. So
cool. Well, we will definitely link to all of your books and your website and chronicle. How can people best get in touch with you online? What is your website or whatever else you want to mention?
It's www.barbarascottgoodman.net.
.net. Okay, great.
Yep, that's where I am.
They can find your books and everything else there and probably link out to your social media channels and whatever. So we'll put that in the show notes, of course. I'm going to say goodbye for now and cheers.
Okay, cheers to you too.
Cheers.
Okay.
This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
All right, cheers. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed our chat with Barbara. Here are my takeaways. Number 1, I love Barbara's pairing of Romesca spread and a robust Rioja from Spain. It's on my list to try this week. Number 2, do photos of dishes enhance or detract from restaurant menus? Well, Barbara believes that photography is an unnecessary expense for most restaurant menus. These days, of course, many people look at the website of a restaurant before they even make a reservation. These sites tend to have good photos that can be a selling point. Also, and I agree with her, dishes change so frequently that you'd have to keep photographing and keep redesigning the menu. Number 2, how does the inclusion of photography affect the cost of a cookbook? Well, as Barbara says, food photography is extremely expensive, especially when you're getting involved with prop stylists and food stylists and all the time that takes. The cost really does floor people. Authors and readers, of course, we want big, colorful, beautiful pictures, but there isn't room for a lot of mistakes. And Barbara mentioned that while working on a book, when the costing came back, they decided to do illustrations instead because it was just so far out of budget. And number 4, how can you set yourself up for success as an aspiring food or drink writer? Again, I agree with her that it's a lot of work, so make sure you're serious about it. Develop a platform, start working on recipes, or in my case, tasting wines. Give your friends recipes to test. I guess you could give them your wines as well. And take the feedback. Have a vision. What kind of book do you really want to create and what's important to you? In the show notes, you'll find a full transcript of my conversation with Barbara, links to her website and books, the video versions of these conversations on Facebook and YouTube Live, and where you can order my book online now, no matter where you live. You can also find a link to take my free online food and wine pairing class called The 5 Wine and Food Pairing Mistakes That Can Ruin Your Dinner and How to Fix Them Forever at nataliemclean.com/class. That's all in the show notes at nataliemclean.com/284. Email me if you have a sip tip question, would like to win one of 3 copies of Barbara's gorgeous book on food and wine pairing with recipes, or if you've read my book or in the process of reading it, or maybe your book club is doing it. So no matter what, email me at natalie@nataliemclean.com. If you missed episode 162, go back and take a listen. I chat about sherry, Rioja, cava, and other Spanish wine gems with expert Lawrence Francis. I'll share a short clip with you now to whet your appetite.
Sherry is one of the most complex wines out there. Sauterne is always going to have this amazing length and intensity, but sherry in the right hands, you can almost just turn it up. There's so many different colors and different flavors to paint from it. I think they're on the right track in talking about how well it goes with food. Food is a wonderful way to hook people and to get them to want to know more about the wine.
It's a great way into wine itself, but also categories of wine that have maybe suffered from misconceptions. Like sherry has often been pegged as the Oxford Dawn University professor wine behind the books, or granny's wine, or whatever. But it is complex. It's nutty. It's wonderful. It has this range of styles from sweet to dry. If you liked this episode or learned even one thing from it, please email or tell one friend about the podcast this week, especially someone you know who'd be interested in learning more about food and wine pairing and the behind-the-scenes look at publishing a cookbook. It's easy to find my podcast. Just tell them to search for Natalie McLean Wine on their favorite podcast app, or they can listen to the show on my website. Thank you for taking the time to join me here. I hope something great is in your glass this week. Perhaps a dusty, earthy Rioja with romesco sauce seeping into the crevices of warm toast. You don't want to miss one juicy episode of this podcast, especially the secret, full-bodied bonus episodes that I don't announce on social media. So subscribe for free now at nataliemclean.com/subscribe. Meet me here next week. Cheers.